Hi, Milo. What did you find? What did you find, buddy? What did you find? A stick? Oh, don't eat it. Don't eat the stick. Hi, Milo. How is it? How is it, Milo? Oh, you're such a lab. Don't eat it, though. Yeah, spit it out. Good boy. All right, good boy, Milo. I love you. Goodbye. Hi, this is Jenna with Brown Dog Craft Company, and today we're going to make a autumn Halloween card using the Pretty Pink Posh Halloween Mug Edition set that recently came out. So here are the dies that coordinate with that original mug set, and we're going to be using a new stamp set called Pretty Pink Posh Sentiment Strips Halloween that coordinate with the new sentiment strip dies that they came out with. And then we will also be using a layering stencil from last year, the candy corn. So here I've got some leaves cut out and some of the main elements for the card, and we're going to be making a shaker today. So here I've got the mug die cut out, and this is one of the windows from a different set. I think the fruit set, the fruit edition set. And I'm running that through the die cut machine to make the window for my shaker. And then out of that goldish reddish paper, I'm going to cut out the back of the mug. And then here I have a plain piece of copy paper, and I'm going to put my window sheet in there and then my die on top of that, and then close that into my copy piece of paper before I run it through my die cut machine. Now I do that because all of those cuts on our die cut machine will leave an impression into the acetate if you just run it through without the copy paper. But if you run it through inside the copy paper sandwich, it helps keep all those impressions off of your window sheet. So just a little trick that I use when I'm die cutting acetate window sheets. And you can also do that with like gold foil paper. You know, it doesn't work as well with the foil paper, but it definitely helps. So here I'm just taking some double-sided adhesive and putting that on the back of the front panel of the mug. And this is where we will peel off that and put the window sheet behind there. So just making sure that my kitty ears are going to fit behind here. So I like to use tape instead of glue, or I don't like to use any sort of liquid adhesive behind my acetate window sheet because one, it takes a little bit to dry, and two, I inevitably always get glue on the front of my acetate and then it doesn't come off very well and I feel like I just ruined my shaker. So if at all possible, I use some sort of sticky tape at this step. There we go. Lines up nicely. And the kitty ears, I will add some glue behind the kitty ears. And now these are designed to fit right inside the mug there. So I'm just going to add some glue and adhere them, line them up a little bit, and then I will take my reverse tweezers and clamp those on a little bit here to help that dry, because those kitty ears are adhering to the acetate in the back. So it just takes a little bit for the liquid glue to dry. Here is the coffee or hot cocoa or whatever you want for inside your mug. I'm telling myself that it's like a pumpkin spice mocha or latte or chai tea latte. But you can tell yourself whatever it is on your card. Here's the pumpkin. It's really cute. It's got a little pumpkin stem. It cuts out some cute stitch detail. So there's the pumpkin. And then this is the whipped cream that I've cut from some white glitter cardstock. That's Lawn Fawn's. I can't remember if they call it fairy dust. But I'll have it linked on my blog. And that's from, I think that's from the holiday editions. Not the holiday, the Valentine's editions set. The whipped cream. So, but I don't know about you, I can't have my mocha without a little bit of whipped cream. So Um, so after I get the front of the mug mostly put together here, we'll start adding the kitty's face. So he's got two little whiskers and a cute little nose, and then you can add, there's a little die that does the little pink of the nose. You can cut out just that piece. And then we can do eyes. And all the pieces are super tiny, so a embellishment tool of some sort is helpful. Just ignore that I'm cutting this part off. This is before I realized that there is actually a die for the nose. So you don't have to cut the nose again and cut off the smile. You can just die cut the nose. So that's what I will do here from some pink. And then the kitty's eyes have like these little Halloween green eyeballs that you can add. You'll see. Hard to explain. But I really like these sets because like all the parts of the kitty are one die. And then there's other things in the set. They're like the pumpkin. There's two parts to the pumpkin, but it's all on one die. There's a witch's hat. It's the same way. There is the bubbles for the cauldron. It's the same way. There's a broomstick the same way. Like it's all one die. So it's super easy to figure out which pieces, which dies go to which character or animal or item. So you just have to run it through your die cut machine multiple times depending on how many colors you want. So I think that's super helpful, and it makes it a lot less confusing with, having like 50 dies or something in one set. So here I'm going to use just a teeny weensy bit of liquid glue to put these all together. So here's the eyes I was talking about. See, I don't know what you call those, the insides of the eyes. I don't know. So leave me a comment and tell me what you would call them. So here we'll add the cute little nose, and I see I'm a little bit off camera. Sorry about that. I will fix it. And I'm trying not to add too much glue because I don't want the liquid glue to squirt out onto the acetate. He's really cute. Super cute. So then let him dry a little bit, and then we can flip him over, and you can do this a couple ways to build up your shaker. You can either die cut the mug again a few times to layer it up with cardstock. I did not choose to do that because you would also have to cut out the inside of the mug, and you'd have to make sure you cut it in the same spot every time in order to have nice layers of cardstock to build up your shaker. So instead, I'm going to use foam tape. And if you peel the back off the foam tape before you take it off the sheet, it becomes super pliable. So you can bend it around all those little curves and edges without any problem at all. So when you're putting the shaker together, you just want to make sure that you always touch your foam tape to itself. Like, you want to have a complete closure, because if you don't, your little shaker pieces are going to have a hole to escape from. So ask me how I know. So just make sure that you close up the area and it's sealed tight wherever you're going to have your shaker bits. So like, it doesn't matter here on the handle or up on the top, just in that little window. And then the shaker bits that I'm going to add are from Pretty Pink Posh, and they're from last year. Of course, I don't have them in front of me. I think they're called like Autumn Mix, and they're cute little like caramel swirls and red and orange gems. There's some apples in there, some little caramels, like little square caramels, and then just some like confetti in different colors, brown and tan. So very fall, coffee-ish-esque. So I'll add my shaker bits there, and then here I've got the backer to the shaker. There we go. Yay! So adorable. I love this little kitty. He's cute. So here I have my waffle flower grip mat. This is the 8.5 by 8.5, and I absolutely love this for stenciling. It completely eliminates the need for pixie spray or magnets. It just works really well. So here I've got a piece of craft cardstock, and I put that in the center and just push it down. It sticks right on there. And then I've got the first stencil for the candy corn, and I'm going to be using Distress Oxide. We're going to use Carved Pumpkin for layer 1. And I do have a special set of blending brushes specifically for my pigment, for my Distress Oxides, because they do have a different composition than your regular dye inks. So if you only have one set of blending brushes, just make sure to wash them out really well in between, like before and after you use Distress Oxide ink on them. So there is the first layer. And I will just peel up the first layer and set it aside. I'll just rinse it off in the sink when I'm all done. And then the second layer, sorry, don't want to make you dizzy, but I realize you're a little bit out of frame. I got a new camera and I'm still messing around with where it needs to be set up for the best picture. So here's the second layer, and we will use some yellow. Let me see what color I used. Oh, that's mustard seed. Get that layered on there. And then the final color for the candy cane will be white pigment ink. So I'm using the unicorn ink from Hero Arts. You can use any white pigment ink. And that's the main reason why I did my panel in craft instead of white, because of the whites of the candy corn. They'll stand out and look really nice against the craft cardstock. So I have a blending brush that I use only for the white pigment ink. And then if you're concerned about getting color contaminated in your white pigment ink pad, you can always take like a clear block or your glass mat and sort of like swipe your pigment ink pad onto the block or your glass mat and get some of the ink on there, and then pick it up with your blending brush from that instead of the ink pad. Mine does have a little bit of color contamination. It seems to be okay, but total personal preference there. So, and then I love it when you pull away this final stencil. These candies look adorable. And they look really good on the craft. You could probably do a fun colored cardstock too. Yay, aren't they so cute? So I will peel that off and set that aside to dry for just a little bit. And then this grip mat I will peel off my mat. And I don't have it set on a glass mat. It's just on my craft mat, like my self-healing craft mat. And it sticks to it fine, peels off fine. So when I'm done with it, I just go and put it in the sink and give it a good wash with some water, and if needed, a little bit of soap, just sort of gently, and then lay it out to dry, and it's good as new. So it will stain eventually, depending on what colors you use on it, and that's okay. It just means that it's loved. So I'm going to take 2 stamps from the new, I'll call it coordinating stamp set. It doesn't coordinate per se, but they're fall sentiments in there. So we're going to do Hey Pumpkin and then Brewing Up Some Halloween Fun. So I'm going to take my craft cardstock again and then some red cardstock. And the red cardstock is the same that I cut the leaves from. And I'm going to put those in my MISTI. I'll use my anti-static powder tool. And then I will stamp these in embossing ink and heat emboss them with white embossing powder. And then I will, so the Hey Pumpkin I stamped on craft, and I will cut out a backer piece in red for that one. And then the Brewing Up Some Halloween Fun I stamped on red, and so I'll cut out a craft backer for that one using the new Sentiment Strips die set. So it'll make sense here when I put them together. So here's how I keep my embossing powder, just in a bucket, and I do have a spoon in there. I tend to not use the spoon as often because your fingers get real full of embossing powder when you pick up the spoon, but sometimes you need it. So I think those stamped really well. Heat those both up. And then I will die cut them out. So I really like this die set that Pretty Pink Posh released because it's fun being able to layer your sentiments with like stitching and then scallops, and there's like 3 different options for each one. And I just think it's a lot of fun. You can add some layered detail to your sentiments. So there's a lot to pick from. So I will figure out what fits best and get those die cut out. And then I will adhere the sentiment to the little backer that I cut out of the other color of cardstock. There's one. And here's the next. All right, so now we can start putting everything on the card. The panels had plenty of time to dry. So I'm going to adhere the mug with some liquid glue because it already has some dimension to it since it's a shaker. So I'll sort of lay out where everything should go. Some leaves behind the pumpkin. So I've got some leaves that are cut out of, I wouldn't call it gold. I mean, it's gold, but it's more of like a champagne glitter. And then some red. So we're going to layer those behind where the mug will go. And I know it's a little fuzzy at the moment. I don't know what happened to my focus. It must have focused on something that wasn't the card. So, like I mentioned earlier, I am playing with a new camera, and all of the settings are, there's just a lot of settings. So just trying to figure out what works best in my space it's an experiment. So you can experiment with me. So I think the glitter paper is throwing it off. So there we go. And then trying to decide what to do. This is real time. Well, I mean, it's sped up twice, but this is real time thought process here as you watch me decide what to do. I'm sure you do this in your own craft room. So. And then we'll get that last leaf. I think these are maple leaves. I'm not really sure. I'm going to give that one a little bit of a haircut so I can get it in where I want it to be. Don't be afraid to do that to your die cuts. Because you know what? If you don't like it, it's paper and you can die cut it again. So here I've got some foam tape, and I'm going to put foam tape on the back of both the sentiments and peel it off. This one's going to go in the center at the bottom. Make sure I have it right side up. And the Hey Pumpkin will go up on the top, and I'm going to put it a little bit behind the whipped cream just to sort of hide it. To sort of hide it behind the whipped cream there and give it a little bit more dimension. And then these shaker pieces, or these little bits here, are what's inside the shaker. So I'm just going to add a few of those. I didn't want to add the apples on the outside of the card. You know, if they had pumpkins, I probably would. So instead I'm going to add some of these like little caramel swirl candy looking pieces and then some gems. So I'll scatter, I think I have 5 of those. I'll scatter those around the card and add them with some liquid glue. And then last but not least, we need some highlights. So I'm going to take my favorite white pen and we'll add some highlights. I'll add this to a top folding card base. You could also add it to a side folding card base, like opens on the right there. Whichever you prefer. I like to use liquid glue when I do that because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room, a chance to move my card around a bit and get it centered. So here I'll add some highlights on the mug and the pumpkin and the leaves and even some on the sentiments. You know, I'm not too picky about where I add them. I just sort of take out my pen and draw some lines and some dots and stop whenever it feels correct. So my advice to you would be to add these wherever you think they look good. We are probably our own biggest critic, so no one else will care exactly where they are or if they're in the right spot for a light source except for us. So, all right, there you have it. There's our cute kitty pumpkin mocha latte card for today. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope to catch you again next time. Let's craft together. Thanks. Bye now.